So I was watching a stream by Trihex. It was a video on demand. It wasn't a live recording, but Trihex was talking about some of the worst customer experiences he and his old manager ever faced. And quite frankly, I think their stories, while quaint, seems to kind of pale in... Oh, at GameStop. At GameStop, I want to emphasize that. But I wanted to mention that it kind of paled in comparison to something, at least from my perspective, that I face. Now, I work in the financial services industry. I don't want to really be more specific than that, but I just wanted you to know that that's some background. And speaking of background, what you're looking at here is also some required background, so that you can get a little bit of a perspective on what I was doing. So as we get started, this is from the novel The Never-Ending Story, what you're looking at. It's a clip from the Wikipedia. And so I'm just going to read this very quickly so that you can get a little bit of perspective here. When Bastion refused to speak the new name of the childlike empress, she, in order to prompt him into fulfilling his role as savior, the empress herself locates the old man of Wandering Mountain, who possesses a book also entitled The Never-Ending Story. The empress demands he read it aloud. As the old man of Wandering Mountain begins, Bastion is amazed to find the book he is reading is repeating itself, beginning once again. Whenever the empress reaches the old man, only this time, the story includes Bastion's meeting with Coriander, his theft of the book, and all his actions in the attic. And this is very important. Realizing that the story will repeat itself forever without his intervention, Bastion then begins to, give the Empress her name. But again, I just want to realize, the story will repeat itself forever. And so the worst client experience I had at my job in the financial sector involved a customer getting stuck in a feedback loop over the phone. I assist clients over the phone. It's not in person. Otherwise, I'm sure things would be very different for both myself and the clients. Their attitude would be very different in person. And that's just documented fact. But the point is, this is very important section of my literally fate worse than death. At least for a short time, when I was dealing with this client. Because this client created a situation that was an eternal feedback loop without some sort of realization or intervention. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, it's on the phone. Just hang up on the customer. Well, when it comes to dealing with clients, unless they're being rude or otherwise just unbearable in a rude fashion, you can't really hang up on a client because hanging up on someone triggers a call review. And so if you just hang up on someone, if they're not being rude or rude enough, you can get essentially fired. There's not a whole lot of tolerance for just hanging up on clients, especially not in the financial sector. So that's the background of my story of the worst client that I've ever had to deal with in my life. And I think that some music was needed to just really highlight how horrible it was. So this is something called Rome, or Transient Life. It's from the Full Metal Alchemist 2003 series. It had an amazing soundtrack and a terrible second half of its story. But the soundtrack was on point. And speaking of on point, I felt that this song, Transient Life, really just encapsulates the feeling of dread that I had when I realized what was going on with this customer. So here's the situation. It's New Year's Eve, and we were all getting paid double time because that's just how our company works. For every 1 hour you work, you get an extra hour essentially. So I had already put in 12 hours and I wanted to make bank, celebrate on my next paycheck. Now, normally at my job, at my location, over the phones, we stop taking clients at around 8 p.m. I was going to work until 8, but I got permission to go home early at 7. And so it's 6:50 p.m. I have 10 minutes left in my shift. I'm about to go home a little early. It's New Year's Eve, going to celebrate, have a good time, and a customer calls in. Now, it's no big deal. We usually can, take ourselves out of the queue about 5 minutes before the end of the shift. 10 minutes, but, we can also do 10 minutes, but I just wasn't quite there. It was like 6:49. Let's round up to 50. So the customer calls in. She says she got a notice stating that some information on her application for our financial services was incomplete. And this is important, she had called in before, and the previous representative hung up on her without even trying to assist her. So again, the previous representative hung up on her without trying to assist her. Now, in my experience, and if there's anyone else out there who has ever dealt with individuals over the phone, you know that if a representative hangs up on a customer, 9 times out of 10, the customer deserved it. 9 times out of 10, and so when they call back, they're a little bit nicer. I know this because I had a customer using a lot of profanity. I disconnected the call, they called back, I got that call again, and their tone was entirely different. They didn't realize it was me, but I recognized it was them. Totally different tone. So, I know, and some of the representative I've spoken to know, and probably some of the people listening know. Customer gets hung up on, they're generally much nicer. Emphasis on that one last time, because it's really worth repeating. When customers get hung up on, and they're being a little nightmare, 9 times out of 10 they deserve it, and a lot of the time they come in with cooler heads, nicer attitudes. So anyway, she says she got this letter. I open up our systems, I look up her account, I'm looking through the letter. So according to the letter, we did not receive a customer ID number on the application because she was applying for our services. And the reason why we didn't get that ID number is because she has to pay a small fee for our services. I offered to create some ID information and take the fee for her over the phone. She declines it. No big deal. Whatever. I offer to send a notice to her field agent. And she says, no, don't send a notice to the field agent who assisted her because, she applied for our services in the field. It wasn't over the phone. There was a field representative who assisted her. And she declined that too. So she's made 2 declinations, I guess. I don't know. But then she demands that I read the letter specifically to her. No big deal. I do so. I read the entire letter to her. And I also let her know that we are sending out this notice to her in the mail. She should be receiving it in 5 to 10 days. And we're also sending a copy of the notice to the field agent who assisted her. It's also going to be arriving in about 5 to 10 days. So now it's about 6:58. I got it's 2 minutes to midnight. And the song by was it Judas Priest? I don't know who sings the song, but 2 minutes to midnight. Well, it's not 2 minutes to midnight, it's 2 minutes to I get the heck out of there. That's the point. It's 2 minutes. But anyway, I offer at 2 minutes to go to transfer her to our escalations team. She declines that too. She's all about the no. Instead, she now wants the contact information of the field agent. And so, okay, no problem, baby. I'll give her the contact information for the field agent whose fault this is for not getting the information in the first place. Or you know what? Maybe she just declined it. Because that seems to be the trend. And then she tells me that the information that I'm giving to her that's in the letter is wrong. And that we screwed up. Okay. That's actually not the case. The contact information in the letter is based on what the field agent gave us. So I let her know that. You know, if the information is wrong, like the address, the name, the telephone, or if anything's wrong, that's because the field agent gave this information to us. And of course, she refuses to believe it, but as is the trend. I also, once again, let her know that she can contact the field agent on her own. At this point, it's 7 o'clock. I'm technically, my shift is over. But also, that escalations team that I offered to transfer her to, they're gone. They're not there until the end. And that's just because, you know, calls can run long. They don't want to be there until 9, 10, 11 o'clock. So they leave at 7 p.m. So, okay, the escalations team is gone. I offer to have a member of our escalations team give her a call back at a time of her convenience in 2 to 3 business days. Of course, guess what? She declines that too. You're noticing a trend? Because I sure as heck am. Instead, what she wants to do, she wants to know, how long have I worked in my position? Okay. To see if I know what I'm talking about. Well, sadly for you, I've been in my specific position, or for her anyway, I've been in my position for 4 years. Plus an additional 3 in a different part of the company. So, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. So, I tell her once again, you know, we can just get this, we just get us the processing fee, we can generate more the client ID information and just get it done. Of course she declines it, because that's what she does. But then, she asks that I waiver the client, the fee for her. Now this fee is like, just depending on a customer, between $10 and $20. We're not asking for hundreds of dollars for these services. So just keep that in mind too. $10 to $20. Because that's good. So yeah, she's asking that I literally, not metaphorically, not because I don't feel like it, and not because our guidelines say we can't. I literally do not have the ability to waive this fee. It has to be done. So it's about 7:10 at this point. She asked to speak to my supervisor. My supervisor doesn't take calls. She just doesn't, or they don't. We have a separate escalations team. If they do callbacks, they're trained on that, dealing with customers and all that. Our supervisors are about managing a team. She doesn't take calls. None of them do. It's an escalations team that does all that kind of stuff. But I do let her know that, you know, if you weren't messing around, our escalations team went home about 10 minutes ago. It's 7:10. I offered her that escalations opportunity, and I also let her know that I can make arrangements for someone to give her a call back, or she can contact her field agent that assisted her in the first place and got this whole ball rolling. Of course she declines that. Of course she does. But she kicks it up a notch. And she says, there's going to be such a big lawsuit because I'm not transferring her to someone right now. I'm not refusing anything. What you want? Well, I suppose I could transfer her to a dead line. I guess that was my option. Actually, I don't even know if we can transfer to someone to a dead line because I've never tried it. It's unthinkable. Quite literally for me. It's unthinkable to transfer someone to a dead line to me. I've never done it in 7 years. Anyway, she then demands that I read the entire letter again, but this time so that she can transcribe it. I once again remind her, the letter is being sent to her by email. It's being sent to her physically to her physical address, and a copy is being sent to her field agent. Not good enough. She demands that I read the letter to her so that she can transcribe it. Okay, alright. I'm thinking to myself, whatever. I'm getting paid double time, baby. Double time. So I do it. And so this is where things start getting surreal. After I read the entire letter, I ask her, was there anything else I could assist her with? And she writes that down too. And then she asked, and then what? What do you mean, and then what? Well, I don't have anything else. Was there anything else I could do for you? Hold on, let me get that down. Was there anything else I could do for you? And what else? Oh my god. Right before me, the entire 9 layers of hell open up in my brain, in my mind's eye. Because, wait, are we... Is this for real? Is this happening? Well, ma'am, I've gone over every single one of your questions. Is there some new question you have for me, or are we done here? Is there anything else I can do for you? Every single one of your questions. And what else? She asked me. Excuse me, ma'am. I don't have anything else. Unless you have further questions. But I did think there's nothing else. Don't have anything else. No further questions. And what else? And then this is where I start having flashbacks to the never-ending story. It's the part of the never-ending story where the childlike empress goes to that old man on the mountain. Now, when the childlike empress confronts the old man on the mountain, it's considered a fate worse than death. Because in Fantasia, for beings of complete creativity and imagination, being stuck in a feedback loop is a nightmare. It's death. It's worse than death. Because it's undeath. It's unlife. It's the exact opposite of what fantasy creatures in Fantasia are all about. It is a never-ending feedback loop. And so I'm thinking about how the childlike empress is stuck in this never-ending feedback loop. And I realize that that's the nightmare that I'm in. I'm in an aspect of a fate that's worse than death. No matter what I say, or no matter how I rephrase it, she transcribes it, and then asks at the end, and what else? This hellish nightmare goes on for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I say there's nothing else, and then she asks, and what? She writes it down, and then asks, and then what else? Now, after the first 2 cycles, I just let her know, you know what? I've been here for 12 hours. My voice is exhausted, and I have a sore throat. But of course, she transcribes that too. And asks, and then what else? Now, at this point, I'm like, I just told you that, in my mind, I just told her that, you know, I'm not feeling, I told her my burden here. I've got a tired voice and a sore throat, and she just steamrolls on. Now, I'm not putting up with this shit lying down, but the thing is, I can't not hang up on her. I can't do it unless she's being rude. She's certainly being unbearable, and she's, by pretty much every metric, practically intolerable, but she's not being rude. I cannot hang up on her. So I decide to be as passive aggressive as I can get away with. Because at the time, we didn't have the only thing we had specific rules on is, you can't cuss, you can't hang up on the customer. That's kind of it. We can certainly be passive aggressive as much as we want. And many a time I have done so. So I'm just going to start giving it back in however small ways I can. I start speaking in a slow, monotonous voice. And I try my best to sound as bored as possible.
You are hearing me talk.
Yeah, baby.
$1 on this Al Gore doll.
You are hearing me talk.
That's me. You are hearing me talk. You are hearing me talk. That's me to her after the first 2 cycles. So she's listening to me talk like that for about 19 minutes. So she's been subjecting me to this fate worse than death, according to the people of Fantasia. And I'm giving her this bored, monotonous voice. And eventually, it gets through her thick-ass skull that we are in a feedback loop. Again, I want to emphasize, I cannot hang up on this customer. She's not technically being rude. And I wanted to hang up on her so bad. Finally, it's almost 7:45. She asks, and I would have gone home at 7. She finally asks, "Is there someone else I can speak to?" Now, y'all know, I offered her multiple times to transfer her before our escalations team went home. I told her to call her field agent. And I offered her a call back from our escalations team multiple times. It's 7:45. A New Year's Eve. While I was speaking to her in that feedback loop for almost 20 minutes, they literally shut down the lights in my office area. Because I wasn't working from home at the time. I was literally in the office. And they shut off the lights. So, that's where we were at. I'm the last person in that building. So, you know what I do? I just tell her, you know what, ma'am? Why don't you just give us a call back and another representative may be able to assist you? I'm not offering her a call back at this point. And I'm pretty sure that since I'm the last person in the building, that I'm the last person ever at the company possibly working. So I'm pretty sure nobody's going to answer a phone if she calls back. Pretty sure the queue is closed. So, after I tell her that she should give us a call back and speak to a different representative, she just says it was the worst customer service she has experienced in her life. I'm not mad. I try to hold back a laugh. And without missing a beat, I tell her, well, I'm sorry that answering every single question you had and proactively offering resolutions to you before you realized you had them is considered a worse service experience than the representative who hung up on you without trying to assist you. And she counters, "You have made your company liable to such a big lawsuit." And without missing a beat, we're just sniping at each other here. Well, ma'am, I can't believe the other representative who hung up on such a caring, patient, smart, and charming person like you. I can't believe they hung up on you, ma'am. Have a happy New Year's. And then she hangs up at last. 7:45. It was a 50-minute call or so. Something around there. And so that's the worst service experience I've ever had. It wasn't aggressive like some of the other calls I've had. It wasn't flustering. I mean, despite everything that happened, I wasn't flustered. I knew what to do. I get flustered when I'm not sure what to do. So this wasn't a flustering call. It wasn't an angry call. She didn't give me profanity. She was just horrible. Just a general horribleness to every aspect of this customer, this client. It's just awful. Well, that's my experience with the worst service I've ever had. And again, this call, or this recording, I drew inspiration from listening to Tri-Hex and his stories with his manager. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for listening. Hit that like button. Bye-bye.